the technical points already as we learned. So a few points already we discussed. Arrays are used to reduce overhead and complexity. That is the main purpose of array. And array reduce overhead by storing values in sequential order. Array reduce overhead by storing values in sequential order. And array reduce complexity by storing multiple values under one reference name. So TypeScript, array, TypeScript and JavaScript array can handle various types of elements. Can handle various types of elements. TypeScript additionally can restrict array to similar type also, to similar type of elements. So it have both behaviors. Actually in JavaScript, array can handle various types of elements. In TypeScript, you have both behavior. TypeScript can allow different types of data and same type of data also. It can handle both. So same type data and different type of data it can handle. Not only that, array size in a TypeScript and JavaScript can change dynamically. That is actual nature of arrays. But already we know that some technologies and languages, they restrict array to same type and they restrict array so that array size cannot be changed dynamically, but it is not in case of JavaScript and TypeScript. So definitions, as I told you, if anyone asks what is the purpose of array, the purpose of array to reduce overhead and the complexity, not about storing values. So that is the main concept of array. And you always mention about your technology, what you are talking about. Universally don't say array is similar type of data. That doesn't match everywhere. So you say Java array is similar type. C++ array is similar type. You should not say array is similar type because it doesn't matches in many cases. So in TypeScript and JavaScript, array can handle different types. Array size can change dynamically also, which is not possible in other technologies. How arrays are configured in TypeScript? Because in JavaScript already you saw. And I hope you remembered I explained what is difference between meta character and constructor. Remembered? So because generally how to declare array and what are the limitations in TypeScript. First point here is we will see TypeScript array. So how do we configure and handle array in TypeScript? So TypeScript allows array declaration, array declaration using var, let, and const. That is common. So here, if you want array to handle various types, then define type as what is the data type we have to mention. Define type as any. We have to define the type as any. So any is the type. That means syntactically we declare var and values is any type array. That's how we declare. That is the data type you have to mention. If you want to restrict specific type, if you want to restrict specific type, then define the data type. Then define the data type. That means what we have to do, I want array values string type array. This will allow only string. We want values number type array. This is only number type array. So in TypeScript, array have both behaviors. It can restrict with similar type or any type. You can configure any type. This is only declaration. And you know that array declaration is not enough. We can't store values in a array. Why we can't store values in array? In this array, I can't store values. Why? In this array, I cannot store values. Why? Because array declaration requires memory allocation. Array declaration is not enough. Array declaration requires memory allocation. How you allocate memory? Two ways are there. You can initialize memory or you can assign memory. In that also two ways are there. You can initialize or assign memory method, or you can initialize or assign memory using constructor, array constructor. So array declaration is not enough, right? You have to allocate memory for array. You have to allocate memory for array. It can be initialized or assigned. It can be initialized or assigned. So var values uh, this is some any type is equal to array. This is initialization. Or what is another technique where values any type. This is declaring after that values is equal to, you can assign. This is assignment. This is assignment. Assignment. You can use values, some string type, new array. This is also okay. This is initialization with constructor. Or var values string type. Right. So, and var values string type. And we are defining values is equal to new array. This is assignment. What is difference between meta character and constructor? Static and dynamic. We discussed about that. Here, one more concept is there. So one more important point is, means several new concepts you need to understand here. Array constructor, array meta character in TypeScript have some very special behaviors. This is little confusion, but detailedly if you can understand, it is easy to handle. What is confusion? I will show you here. That means what is the concept of configuring array. So we want to define array. So here what we will do, var values is an any type of array, and you are using here meta character into, that means memory is initialized. We can store any kind of data. If I want to initialize data, I can assign any type of data. Assignment means what? Values of 0 is 10. We can assign like that. Initialize, I want to initialize the data. Initialize means directly here I can define 10. Here I can define A. Here I can define true. We can do like this. We can do like this. That means you can assign any kind of value. You can initialize any kind of value. But this is not supported in array constructor. Array constructor will allow to assign different types of values, but will not allow to initialize different type of values. For example, you see here, we are defining new array constructor. Now, data type is what? Any. So first I stored a number. When I stored a number, now the array becomes numeric type. Even your data type is any, you cannot assign initialize other type of values. It can assign only numbers now. That means you see this array values, it is any, but what is the first value you initialized? Number. Then you can observe that here the second one I stored a string not allowed. Even when the data type is any, you cannot initialize any type of value. Now, what type of value you can initialize? That depends on first value type. Suppose if first value type is a string, then all must be string. You try to store a number, it is not allowed. It is not allowed. All must be string. But remember, this is only initializing. If declare array constructor and values of 0, you are storing 10. Values of 1, you can store an alphabet. That is okay. Only initializing of same type is supported, especially using array constructor. But assignment, you can assign any. That is one restriction. And this restriction is not there for meta character. Meta character allows initializing different values, assignment of different values. But the constructor will allow initializing same type of values even when the data type is any. That is the reason in interviews one question is there. What is a tuple? Tuple is a type that allows to initialize and assign different types of data. Tuple is something which allows to initialize and assign different types of data. So tell me how to declare a tuple. Tuple allows to initialize any type and to assign any type. Then how to declare a tuple? You have to declare a tuple by using meta character. By using array constructor, if you declare, it will not allow initializing different types. Even the data type is any. It will allow initializing same types, but assignment different types. You can define different types. So this is very different concept in here is. So first point is array constructor will not allow to initialize different types of values even when the data type is configured as any. You can assign any type of data. You can assign any type of data. You can assign any type of data. That means, so where values is any type is equal to new array. So 10. Then all here dot. This is a numbers array. It is a numbers array. You know dot is an rest many parameters. Many. Similarly, where values is any is equal to new array. If it is a, then what does it means? This is what type? String. All strings are allowed. The value type depends on first. Whatever the first value you initialized, all other values must be same. Assignment is same. This is initializing. Another syntax, assignment you can do anything. Values any is equal to new array. And values of 0 is 10. Values of 1 is a. That is okay, no problem. Values of 2 is true. These all are valid. So now the frequently asked question is, so what is a tuple? It is a collection that allows initialization and assignment of various types of values. That means what is the syntax where values is any type and through meta character. This is a tuple. Why it is a tuple? Because it will allow to store and assign and initialize different types of data. Assignment and initializing of data. So that is a tuple, right? How do we handle? So here one difference between meta character and constructor is about initialization of values. It is not just actually this nature of deciding the data type of other values based on first value is called as generic. Later we will discuss about generics. We have a topic of generics. The behavior that it is showing, like how based on first value it can take other values same type, that is called generic behavior. So later you will see you can create such behaviors. So initially this is one new concept you need to understand about arrays when you compared with JavaScript. So similar types, there is no chance. Similar type means what you declared values, what type string. So all string, either you use initialization or assignment, it is string only. So that means it have both behaviors. Like other languages, it can restrict same type. Like JavaScript, it can allow different type, right? And once you mention the type, then it is fixed. Initialization, assignment can be of only same type. Here one more point is there. Because you learned union of types. Now doubt is like, can array also have a union of type? That means you see, I'm giving array. It is string type and a number type array. It is a string and number type array. That means you can have a union of type. You can have a union of type. Array also can be union of type. But here some more technical points are there. Okay, now it is array of string number. So what does it means? Can I store both string and number values in array? Suppose I am storing 10. I am storing A. It is not allowed. So what does this means? It means that either all numbers or all string. It doesn't means that one string and one number. This is initializing. Assignment, when you are dealing with assignment, values of 0, 1 can be number. Values of 1, the another can be string. It's okay. Again, difference in initialization and assignment. If it is a union of type, either you can initialize one type. You can initialize only one type, either all number, either all string. But assignment you can do. So if your intention is to handle both string and numbers in one collection and don't allow others, because if I say any boolean will come, null will come, undefined will come, then you better use this technique. But this is not for initializing values. This is only for assignment. Assignment. It is not for initializing the values. So here another technique you should know is array configuration in array configuration in TypeScript allows union of types. Union of types. But you can initialize only one type. However, assignment can be any type. However, assignment can be specified types. Assignment can be specified types. That means what types you define, they are specified type. So syntactically again, var values is string array and a number array is equal to, you are using this 10A. This is invalid. This is not valid. Invalid. Only numbers or only string. Any of these only allowed. Means all numbers, all string. But assignment, values of 0 equal to 10. Values of 1 is equal to A. This is okay. This is valid. So union of types are supported for array also, just like the primitive type you have seen, numbers and all. But it is not for initializing, it is for assignment. Initializing can be any one specific type, either all numbers or all string. So these are the new things in array declaration. Array declaration, array configuration, memory allocation, storing the data. And reading array, adding elements into array, removing elements from array, sorting array, all array methods are same. There is no change. That means your map, find, filter, splice, slice, pop, push, shift, unshift. Everything works as it is. There is no change in them. Only the point you should know, declaring and initializing the values you have to understand. And remember, as I already told you, they are supporting type inference. Type inference means you are not mentioning the data type. So var values equal to array. And here it is 10, 20, 30 like this you are configuring. Then it becomes a number type. Automatically it defines. Suppose you are adding some string A like this. Then it becomes number and string type. Number and string type. But remember, it is not initialized with the type. If you initialize it with the type, this is not allowed. If it is not initialized with the type, that means it is again allowing this initialization. That means you are not initializing the type. If I say string type or you say number type, then it is error. It is error. You don't mention the type inference, then it is allowed. That is that some techniques and tricks you will feel like, so I learned like this, but these people are using like this, because there are small minute techniques in that. That means you learned that you cannot initialize two different types when the type is defined. If the type is not defined, type inference will allow. Type inference will allow. So this is one key point you need to understand. So type inference, so an important note, type inference of TypeScript allows a union of initialization, a union of initialization. That means syntactically what var values is equal to 10a. So that is okay, it will allow. That means it is a union of what? String and number. String and number. But here, slight declaration related syntaxes you need to understand. Type inference will allow. And how type inference is allowing, you can see it is allowing this. And this is the specialty of union actually. That means if you want, that means this is, once you see the type inference, you can understand. So if in interview anybody asked you like, so is it possible to create a union for array to initialize multiple types? Is it possible to create a union for array to initialize multiple types? That is possible. Yes, it is possible. Actually, previously, if you observed the syntax, what is the syntax previously? What does the above syntax means? This syntax is nothing but this indicates that all string type, all number type, string type, number type. That's what it is going to do. Either all string, either all number. That is the reason I can't initialize different. Now, do you know how you can configure now? So syntactically, you can say var values of values is values. Here you can define string or number type array. This is union. Now here you can initialize one number, one string. It is possible. There is no problem. That means, now what does it means? What is the previous syntax? Previous syntax says that one array of string and one array of number. But here you are saying that one array, here only one array, na? The configuration is only one array. This one array can be having a string or a number. That is what actually type inference is using, which you can manually configure. That is the reason I told you that clearly once you observe, it's easy. But lot of confusion in interviews because tricky type of questions are asked there. Even experienced people are confused in this. That means they say that, can I have a union of different types initialization? Then again, we need to take a clarity, like that means union of one array with different types or union of two arrays, three arrays. If it is union of three arrays or two arrays, how you declare string array, number array, like that. But here currently union of how many arrays? One array only, and it is what? One is either string or number, That means usually here you define a string or what is it? A number array. Now it is okay. You can handle any kind. That is the nature of union actual. So you can define values in this way. This is the configuration of array to handle two types of values. And remember, that is not possible if it is a string type array or number type array. It is not possible. What does it means? That either all numbers or all string. Because here you are defining two similar type of arrays. That is the declaration related important techniques you need to understand. And rest of concept array. So array manipulation methods, array manipulation methods, all are same as in JavaScript. There is no change. Array manipulation methods all are same as in JavaScript. That means reading, writing, removing, adding, deleting. So everything is same, sorting, filtering, finding. All array methods, there is no change. So how you read all the values from an array? Generally what we do, values dot what? Map. All this concept is same. There is no change. So no need to explain about the methods. I'm not even giving an example because these all we will do in our React. Example we will implement in React because not required, just syntax you need to understand how to deal. Next, important. So after understanding about array, now here object type. How do we define an object type? Actually, what is the problem with object type in your JavaScript? Object type in JavaScript is, the issue with object type in JavaScript is JavaScript objects are dynamically typed. objects are dynamically typed. Dynamic types are there in many languages. So Java, .NET, everywhere. Dynamic types are there. Dynamic type means the data type of the value is determined at the runtime of application according to the value initialized, assigned. That means the type of value will be determined according to the value that you have stored at the runtime. That means that is a problem also. For example, what is problem in your object type in JavaScript where product is an object? How do you define object? You know already. And in this we have a name, so which is a string, and we have a price, which is a number. Now what we are doing later into the product price, we are asking to enter some value. So actually into this, I stored some value as a string. It is okay, it will take. That means it will allow you to do that. That means the keys allow any kind of value. That is not great. That means it is valid. Document.write product.price. Then what it is going to do? It is going to display the price, product price that. So there is no restriction. That means product here. So product dot price, later I entered some boolean. Then it is able to change it to boolean. That means there is no restriction for this. That means the keys can handle any kind of value. There is no restriction for value. That is the problem with the object. But here, what is the speciality of TypeScript? In TypeScript, we are defining a product object. Actually, object. As of now, object can deal any type. But we want object to have only specific. Then you can just put here a data type. The data type is a structure. Structure is defined as an object again. Is defined as a structure. The structure is defined as an object again. And what is that object here? So here what we do, what are the keys values you are expecting? I am expecting name. Okay, what is its data type? Its data type is string. And I am expecting as price. Price is what type? Number. I am expecting stock, which is a boolean. That's how we define. Now, why it is showing? It is showing some error because every key and the value type that you have defined, every key is mandatory. Every key is mandatory to implement. Whatever keys you defined, every key is mandatory to implement. That means it is saying that you have said product have name, price, and stock, but in your initialization, there is no name, price, and stock. You see, it says missing. What are missing? Name is missing, price is missing, stock is missing. Okay, let's put here. So put here name. Now name cannot be a number because its data type is fixed now. So it can be only a string. And the price, you cannot handle any other type. It must be a number. And stock, it is a boolean. Boolean is a true or false. That is how we declare objects in TypeScript. Later you will learn some more techniques. When you learn about OOP related some basic points, some more techniques are there. But now the object is well structured. Earlier we don't have this. That means suppose later if I want to assign product dot price is string, it's not allowing. Why it is not allowing? Because it knows that its data type must be what type? Number. And string is not assignable. So this was not possible in JavaScript. In JavaScript, we don't have a restriction for a value under the reference of a key. A key is dynamic and it can handle any type. But now it is restricted. And the key point here is we have the keys and every key is mandatory. Previously in JavaScript, if any key is not used, then it will put as undefined. But here every key is mandatory. But one technique is there. For example, we have rating. Rating is a number. Rating is a number. Now it is showing error. Why it is showing error? Because rating is not defined. If rating is not defined, it says that rating is missing. It says rating is missing. Because according to the type that you have mentioned, the type requires rating. But our intention is rating is optional. That means rating is not mandatory. You can skip rating. Rating is optional. Then to define optional properties, we have a null reference character question mark. Now it is optional. That is optional. What is the meaning of question mark? Zero or one occurrence. You know meta characters. Question mark refers to zero or one occurrence. That means null reference characters. Several technologies don't have optional parameters. Several high level technologies also don't have optional parameter. Every parameter is mandatory. They have overloading, but they don't have the concept of optional parameters. But TypeScript supports optional parameters. Some languages have optional parameters. TypeScript supports optional. Optional means if you mark with question mark, it indicates that you can ignore this. But important, if it is ignored, then how to write a logic for this? Obviously, how you write the logic? We write a condition. What is the condition? If product dot what? Rating. What does it means if rating is defined? If rating is defined, then print rating. Otherwise, ignore it. Can we have more than one null types? You can have more than one. That means stock is also optional. Then you can make it as question mark. Doesn't matter. Suppose price is optional. You can make it as question mark. There is no problem. That means you can make any number of keys optional. You can make all optional. But make sure that you are writing the logic to verify whether they are provided or not. That means here if product dot rating is mentioned, then what? Console dot log, we have to print the details. So what is that name? How to access this? Product dot what? Name. In the next line, price. How to access product dot what? Price. In the next line, stock. So how to access? So product dot stock. In the next line, we have rating. And how to access product dot what? Rating. And if rating is not defined, that means if rating is not defined, you cannot use this statement because it will return undefined. If rating is not defined, then print up to only price. That means don't print the rating. If rating is defined, then print rating. Otherwise, what happens? Rating, it will return as what? Undefined. Undefined. So here you see, I'm running this, yeah. So you can see TSC, what is that? Index.ts. Index.ts. And we have node index.js. And it is not displaying about anything about rating. But later, if rating is defined, that means if rating is defined, so rating is configured as some rating is defined. Then when you compile this again, So you have to compile every time and run this, and you can see it is showing that rating. It is displaying that rating. So you have to write a logic to handle the optional type. So one important is about optional. How do you define the optional keys? Right. So let's take some point here about it. So what is object here? JavaScript object uses dynamic keys, dynamic keys and values. So it can assign a different type of value that mismatch with the initialized value. TypeScript can restrict the values for every key. TypeScript can restrict the values for every key. So TypeScript requires a schema. Schema is structure. Requires a schema to define as data type. TypeScript requires a schema to define as data type. So define as data type. That is what actually the option is. Requires a schema to define as type. That means syntactically what you do. So var obj, we have to write the schema and is equal to whatever the value. This is actually data according to schema, according to the structure. So we have var some product. So we have ID, number, name, string, like this. So what is another key point here is yeah, every key defined in schema is mandatory to configure. Every key defined in schema is mandated to configure in definition. Configure in definition. Every key defined in schema is mandatory to configure in definition. In the definition, you have to configure every key that you defined in schema. TypeScript supports nullable types, which allow to configure an optional key. TypeScript supports nullable types which allow to configure an optional key. So nullable type is defined with question mark. Nullable type is defined with question mark. That means here we have var product ID, number, So name string. So price question mark colon number. That means here it indicates that price is optional. Price is optional. The optional keys are defined by using this. Right. So this is usually how you configure the keys. So all object manipulations are same. That means already we learned object manipulations. In the data binding, I explained. Object manipulation means how to read all keys, how to read all values. This all we know. Here, but one more point is, you know that JavaScript object is not just only data. It contains both data and logic. Function also, na? That means object contains both data and logic. Now the question is, do we have a structure for function also? Of course, function also can have a structure because functions can be void, functions can have a return. That means, is the schema only for data or is it only for function also? Because object can handle both data and function. JavaScript objects can handle both data and function. Then is the schema only for data? No, you can have a function also. I will copy this example. Just this is one example. So this is an index.ts, right? How to compile and all you know. Here, how do we define the structure? Suppose var product, we are defining a structure. This structure, so we have name, okay, it is a string type. And after that, we are defining price, that is also a number type. Another quantity, this is also number type. And we have a total. Total is a function. Total is a function. And how you define a function? How do you configure the structure for a function? That means here you see total, I am writing like a function. And what it is, it should return a number. It should return a number. That means now total is not to handle data. It is to handle a logic, right? And we have a print. Print is a function, but it is an void type. That means it will not return a number. It is an void type. That means now what we need to do is you have to define the object accordingly. So what is the object requires now? Because all are optional. Can a method be optional? Yes. A function also can be optional. You can just, suppose I define name. Name is TV. We have price. So price is number. And we have quantity. Quantity is this. Now total. Total is a function. And you know how to write a function. You can put in parenthesis and see it says that it should return a number. That means if I writing like this, it is invalid because it is what type void? Currently it is an void. So what is the nature of this? It says that total must return a number, but it is actually returning void. Currently it is void. It should return a number. So how you can return a number? That means here it will return this dot quantity. That means this dot quantity. We put a definition here. So this dot quantity. So and into what it is, this dot what price. That's what it should return. And here you see it is showing some error and it is saying that it is void. It is not assignable. It is not returning a number. Why it is not returning a number? Suppose this is what shorthand technique. Shorthand technique is used for whom? Shorthand technique is used for expressions, right? Suppose I am writing a function. What this function has to do? Return is what? This dot quantity into what? This dot price. This is correct. Why you cannot use a expression there? Why you cannot use an expression? Because expression is not returning the type of the entire functionality. It is just returning a value. So here you need to configure a function which should return a number. Okay, what about print? What about print? So print is another one. And if I don't mention print, then you see it shows an error because it says that what is missing? Print is missing. Print is optional. Then put a question mark. Now it is optional. That means a method also can be optional. But here we are defining a print, and a print is a function. And this function, suppose it is returning some string. So it is returning some value. What is this dot quantity into this dot what price? You see it is not showing any error. Why it is not showing any error? It is void type. It is not showing any error. It is saying that it is a void type, but the function is returning a number. So why previously it is showing error here? Because it should return a value. When you make it optional, optional means what? Can a void can return value? Can a void can return value? In JavaScript, it is possible because in JavaScript, so the function have both nature of method as well as function. That is the reason I hope you learned in JavaScript already difference between function and method. In JavaScript, there is no configuration of method and function technically because method also can be written and can be void. Function also can be written and can be void. So this you will solve in next level where you will solve when you learn OOP, you can solve this problem. Initially in the structure, what is it to do? Console.log, it should return what it should return name, some this dot name, and we have a price, and what is it? This dot price, and we have quantity as this dot quantity, this dot quantity, and total is this dot total. Total is a function that returns a number. Now if I want to access product dot what print. So we need to print the data. And you can see it is showing error. Actually it is not error, it will work. Why it is showing error? It is saying that you see, so it may be possibly undefined. That is just a warning, that is not an error. Possibly undefined means what? Because you mentioned as empty. nullable type later in by any chance it may not be defined for any product, right? So as of now, that is, don't worry about these red marks. You read that, then you will understand. By seeing red mark, you can't get to a conclusion that this is error. So usually here in editors, these are not completely professionally 100% having all the support of JavaScript and TypeScript, even HTML also. They can't show correct complete issues. That is the reason. Don't worry about the marks, red, green, and yellow marks that you get while writing the code. Read that problem. That means it says that cannot invoke an object which is possibly what? Undefined. Undefined. That's okay because print is undefined now. So that means how do I call this print? I put a question mark. Not required. You just mention X as it is. Now when you run this usually, so TSC, that is index.ts. It is compiling that successfully. There is no error. And node index.js. It is going to show the result. That means don't worry about that red mark that so every time comes in on the Visual Studio Editor, because actually it should not be a red mark. It should be a yellow mark, so showing you some warnings. But several contents are not completely 100% accurate. That's the reason we can ignore that. First read the problem. What is the problem? Simply you cannot come to a conclusion that this is red mark, so I cannot run it. So you can run it because it is not a error actually. Actually they have to put that in yellow mark saying that it is a warning because it is an undefined type, and if there is no print then it will not execute. That's okay, we know that. So and that's the reason we can run this. So here what is another option you should know about object is, so object schema can contain definition for both properties and methods. Properties and methods. So a method schema defines the signature and return type. Actually, method schema means what? Signature. Signature means how you declare, with parameters, without parameters, that is the signature. And what is the return type? You know, function signature means, signature of function means what parameters it is having, how many parameters it is having, like. So syntactically here, where obj is equal to schema. This is property and its a type. So property and its type. So string or something I given. And we have a method. Method is written with a parenthesis. And its type. It can be void or it can be any type. Later we will learn about the functions also. A method can be optional in object configuration. Can be optional in object configuration. Where obj property method question mark and void or type. So it can be optional. And example I will give here. This is an example of both object with the property and methods, right? How do we handle them? And next, object manipulations. All object manipulations are same as in JavaScript. That means reading elements, configuring elements, reading the elements, configuring the elements, deleting keys, verifying whether a key is present or not. In JavaScript, whatever methods you know, they are same, right? Now, how do you design an array of objects? That means array of objects, because you know JSON. That means object can have complex type data. Complex type data means array type, object type. Object can have an object also. That means array of objects, complex objects, both. Complex objects means what is complex object? Nothing special here. What it is? Suppose it is having cities. Cities is an array. So we have Delhi. So we have Hyderabad like this. Cities is an array. But actually in the configuration, there is no cities. And immediately it shows an error saying that in the structure, there is no cities. And then here we will mention about it. So what it is, what? Cities. Cities, what type? String type array. That's it. Can you have an object inside object? Of course. What you can do? Rating. Rating is again object type. Rating is again object type. In that rate must be what type? Number. Count is again what type? Number. You can define in this way. That means now I have to configure the rating. Rating. And what is the rating? Rating is an object, and the rating object should contain two parameters mandatory. What is it? Rate. Rate. And what is that? Count. So this is how we can define complex data. Data can be complex with all arrays, objects, anything you can have. But only the point you need to define the structure. Define the structure. And you can print them. Just roughly, I will give this example to understand that. Means how you define different complex. Array of objects now interesting here is how you declare. So I want here where. So products is an array. That means it is an object type array. Array of objects means an array which can contain objects. That means how do you declare now? So an object, it should contain name, which is string type, and which contains price, which is what? Number type, and it is an array. That's how we configure. It is not array of object. It is an object type array. It is an object type array. That means now it should have an array. And in this array, you can have objects, and every object must have a name. And every object must have a price. Here also they can be optional, right? You cannot have other type. Do you know what is problem in your JavaScript? This array of objects is completely structureless. Completely structureless JavaScript actually. Structureless JavaScript means what? Suppose I defined where products is an array. In that one name, another one is price. And in the second one, I can have product name. So product name, So which is mobile, and I can have cost. I can have cost something. It is completely contradictory. One object contains name and price, another object contains product name and cost. It's valid. In JavaScript, it is valid. Then lot of problem will come in reading, handling the data. It is valid. You can access individually at 0 dot name, at 1 that is dot product name. But this should not be in the case of TypeScript. In TypeScript, you can't have this kind of data. This kind of data. Data is well structured now. Why? Because you have to just mention the type. Let's see here how you define that. Now you cannot have any another. You cannot say product name as mobile because there is no product name. That means it should be what? It should be name. So, and it should have price. So that is how we configure the data. Reading and printing is same. There is no change. Only the point how you define an object array type, array of objects. So actually what is problem in JavaScript? JavaScript array with objects is schemaless, is structureless actually. TypeScript configures is configures structured data for a collection of objects. Syntactically, what we do, where values is an object type array. That's how we do. Actually, it is key and a type. So price, number, and it is an array. That is how we configure. Right. So this is dealing with object and array options here. Just I will copy this syntax here. Now next important is what the other types you have learned? Dates, how to handle a date, how to handle a regular expression, how to handle map, date, regular expression. These are the types that we'll see tomorrow. And in tomorrow's session, we are going to start OOP. Here, OOP is completely different from what you learned in JavaScript. That means some concept of classes will come, but so many new things are there in object-oriented programming of TypeScript, which you have to learn detailedly. That we will see in next session. Tomorrow we will start TypeScript OOP, right? But it will not take much long time because already we know so many JavaScript differences only we will understand here so that we can easily manage, right? Then tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, right.